Welcome to A Bit of Board Games, a casual podcast documenting the many failures and hopefully successes of Waffle Games, as we learn the ins and outs of board game design and self-publishing. Join us on this journey as we talk about a bit of life, a bit of design, and a bit of board games. Welcome back to another episode of A Bit of Board Games. This is episode 54, and today is April 30th, 2023.
Yeah.
The last day of April. I'm Stephen, your host. It's the first time seeing me here live. I mean, I guess there's been photos on Instagram and stuff, but I'm Stephen, game designer and artist, and today with me is not Trevor, which you may or may not know based on the video. If you're watching, if you're listening, I'm sorry, you should go check out the video to see my beautiful face. But with us today is Waffle Games' new art director, Ralph Cole, officially joining the Waffle Games squad. Welcome to brunch.
Thank you.
Because waffles. Yep.
Yeah.
Ralph, take it away.
Good to be back. Yeah, thank you.
Wait, sorry, real quick, guys. This is an 18er. This is the third 18er that we've talked about having Ralph on, because he's been here every 18 episodes. But now on this one, he's not going to be here every episode, but we'll see him more frequently probably. But anyway, he's now officially here, and yeah, now you can really take it away.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here and kind of, on the team officially. That's exciting. I'm
signed his contract in
to...
blood. So
what's that? I know. Yeah, it's an interesting story. How it went down was, it was an interesting conversation. Stephen approached me. He was like, "Hey man, look, we go way back. Bottom line is I just know a lot about you. There's history there. It would really suck if all your dark secrets suddenly came out. I'm just saying. I'm not saying anything. It would be a real shame if they did.
Yeah.
Anyways, want to join the team? That's what happened.
And here he is. So
and here I am
to share his own dark secrets.
Yeah. No one can share my secrets with me.
That's right.
So.
Well, that's cool, man. No, we're excited to have you on. Martin. Oh, not Martin. Ralph, Mr. Cole.
Yes.
Dude, did you listen to the last episode, 53?
I haven't got there yet.
Okay. So at the end, we were talking about you with Trevor and I were talking about you, and I refer to you Ralph in this setting because that's what you go by. But growing up, I knew you as Martin. Everyone, I knew him as Martin. So that's how I still refer to him. And so talking to Trevor, sometimes we'll refer to you as Ralph and other times we'll refer to you as Martin, and he gets very confused and he's like, are these just different people? Like, who are you even talking about? So do you want to just briefly explain your name and why you have so many names?
Yeah. Well, unlike many things in my life, I actually do have an explanation for that.
Nice.
I went by Martin. It's my middle name, and that's just what my parents decided that they wanted to call me. But my first name is Ralph. I'm the third Ralph, so I guess there was like Ralph. My grandpa went by Ralph, and then my dad's name was also Ralph, but he went by his middle name, which is Marty. And then when I came around, it was Ralph Martin. So that's what I went by, and I didn't argue that.
Yeah.
But when I got to college, I got a serious girlfriend who is now my wife.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks. You're about 5 years late by now. But she called me Ralph. Like when we met, like she just knew me as Ralph because professors
Mm.
While I was in college and taking classes like with her, we met there, and
Yeah.
they would call me Ralph, and I just didn't correct them.
In
Like
like
you
the
probably remember
roster,
a
like
couple of professional, yeah,
yeah, like taking attendance or something.
yeah,
Mm.
and I just wasn't one of the people to be like, oh, it's Martin.
Yeah.
No, I'm not gonna do that. So basically, she knew me as Ralph. So once we
Mm.
got involved with each other, she just called me Ralph, and I really liked it because it was her saying it. So I was
Sure.
like, no, I'm Ralph now. So
Okay.
that's kind of what
So
happened.
does your family, do they still call you Martin though?
The only holdout left is my mom.
Oh, really? Wait, so
Yeah.
your siblings call you Ralph now?
Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy. It took a long time though. It wasn't
Sure.
immediate. It
I mean, I
was
still have that problem. I still can't like sometimes I'll talk like same with talking to my wife. It's either like sometimes it's Martin, sometimes it's Ralph. Um my wife
sometimes she calls you Martin, sometimes she calls you Ralph.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's just very special. um no, but my wife had something similar where in high school and when I first met her was during high school. She went by Lizzie. Her name is Elizabeth. She went by Lizzie. But then when we started dating years later in college, she had started going by Libby. And so,
Yep.
like, when we started talking, I was like, oh, like, hey, Lizzie. And then it's just
I
like,
was there, by
yeah,
the way.
that's right. That's right. Uh, there
I was
when,
there for the birth of that relationship.
and there's been several births since then.
Yeah, yeah, that's right.
Um, that's weird. Anyway, but yeah, she goes by Libby now. So like her family, they all call her Libby now. But it was like yeah, I think it was a process for that too. Just reinvented. You just reinvented yourself. So
Yeah, but you
um,
can blame mine really. It's literally just it was just a pivot that I made because I don't know, I liked it, I embraced it.
yeah,
I knew more about how I wanted to be. Once you get to college, you really start to develop, I
yeah,
think. And so that
cool.
was yeah.
Anyway, he's on the team. He's does visuals stuff. So what's your tag gonna be? You know, I say I'm game designer and artist. Trevor says game designer and
Mm.
operations manager. What are you gonna what are you gonna
Uh,
be?
that's a good question. Hmm. Uh, I guess you could. I art director sounds way too official. I don't know. Do I really want to say that?
You can say artsy fartsy man.
Yeah, let's go with that.
Yeah,
That one sounds good.
yeah.
I'm the art
Lead
director.
artist. I don't know.
Yeah, lead artist.
We'll come up with something.
Um, we'll have to think about that. Steven sprung a lot of stuff on me tonight
I
already.
did.
I can't, like the whole we're on video now. I had
Yeah,
no warning, so
this is a new thing. I just wanted to start it.
yeah,
Now that we're 54 episodes in, so um,
yeah.
okay. Let me also. I'm still an artist, guys. So even though Ralph's coming in here, Ralph, I said it, as art director to kind of help with a lot of the refinement and just the overall like having a strong direction for all the art we do and everything. I'm still going to be have a heavy hand in creating art and doing that because I enjoy it. That being said, the stuff that in the past like couple of days since Ralph said that he was going to join, he's already helped refine like the card designs a little bit and just the general art direction for the illustrations. He's helped immensely on some of those things. So his strengths are definitely going to come in with a lot of that experience that he has, where I've kind of been like self-taught in a lot of these areas and just kind of rough in some of that stuff, which Ralph too was self-taught in illustration initially, but he's had a lot of work and life experience with illustration design and all that stuff. So he's got a lot more knowledge in the design areas. Like, so when we're actually, designing the stuff for printing or uh, other things, just like formatting files and like your file structure and all that stuff too. I think that'll be really helpful and keep me from making as many mistakes as I would have without that. Um, plus, so plus he's got a lot of experience with kind of logo design and like packaging design and stuff like that. So as I mentioned this to Trevor last time that you were gonna probably I said that last week that you were gonna help in some capacity on the logo and packaging side, because that's kind of what we had talked about. But now it's even more than that. So I think that'll be really cool to kind of see what we can do with some of the art direction, specifically on like logo and packaging, like box art and all that. So, um, yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, me too. In all seriousness, like besides my joke thing that I went into, yeah, Stephen did approach me for real and asked me about it, and
Yeah,
it wasn't a blackmail situation. It was just
as far as
he
they
just asked
know,
me out. Yeah, right.
I just asked you
Uh,
out.
I haven't been paid to say this,
Yet.
but basically, yeah, he just asked me, and I thought it sounded good, and the stuff that he wants me to do and start getting involved with, I'm already sort of talking to him pretty regularly about.
Yeah,
So it just kind of makes sense, and I get excited about this kind of work too, like logo stuff. I'm always into, and packaging design is super fun. So I'm hoping that I
I'm
can
glad you
do
think so.
it. It can be fun.
It's helpful for me because
Yeah,
I'm not excited about it.
yeah, yeah. Well,
But
it's I just want to do a good job. So, and I'm not here to it's like Steven said, he's still a great artist and he's really brought it
I'm an up
where
and
it
coming
is.
artist, I would say.
He's brought it to where it is now pretty much on his own. I mean, yeah, like refinements and a couple decisions the past little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I've had some input on, but he's done a lot of stuff himself. So it's just it's just that more manpower is going to help
For sure,
because there's
for
a
sure.
lot of work. So,
Yeah,
you know,
and making sure it's all cohesive too is going to be a key for that. So,
yeah, yeah.
so earlier I also mentioned kind of some refinements that we were making on the cards and the illustration style. So I had drawn like 8 or 10 items, like illustrated out like everything colored. These like eight to 10 items for Foundry for the game, and like as I was like, then I took those and put them on the cards that I had designed to, like the layout and all that stuff too. But as I was looking at them, it just didn't feel right. Like something about it, just like it didn't feel like they tied together, like they were cohesive. And so I'm like, okay, like where's the disconnect here? So it was a combo of things. So like some of the things we tweaked were like where the art sat on the card, and like maybe some differences on like what if it actually overlapped or was like underneath some of the transparent like containers for text, variety of things like that. But then as I was looking at the art and illustrations, I'm like, man, like these are okay. Like I've posted process videos, you guys have seen those, and like they're not like bad, but like the more I looked at them, I'm like, these are just kind of like sloppy, which I kind of always knew doing like while I was doing them, where I'm like, it's the style, but I'm like, it was just a laziness to to some extent, where like I'd get the concept, I'd get the idea out there, get like the shape of the item, and that was great, and like some of the outline and some of the detailing, but then like some of the other ways I was doing shading and detailing stuff, and just even the outside edges were just like, one, the brush I was using was like, it kind of made everything look pixelated around it, so that was one thing that just didn't look clean. So I had to change that. But then additionally, like all of my like little diagonal strokes to like fill in like shading, like the like hashing. Is that what it?
Cross hatching.
Cross hatching. That's the word. Hashing, is that a word? Kind of like cross hatching is essentially what I was trying to do, but like it just was like nothing was really spaced out evenly or lined. I don't know. It was okay. It was hand drawn. Anyway, new style now that we've been working on. I can see it in the reflection of your glasses.
Oh,
Sneak peek, everyone.
I'm
Um,
looking back at the old style to look at the hatching.
yeah,
Um,
it's not
and
it's not full. I don't know.
it's not the thing is it depends. This has
Yeah,
been a
I know. I
conversation we've been
know.
having. This has been a big conversation because Steven keeps on sending me stuff and he's like, "Is this right or wrong?" And the thing is, that's not the question. It's what is the goal?
Yeah,
Because look at a game like something really that's supposed to be gritty, rough. and like harsh.
Yeah.
Like I don't know, like Lisa or something. All I ever have is video game
I don't
references,
know what
but
that is.
it's a game with a very rough and ugly art style, but that's
Okay.
it's that way by design. Like
Sure.
that's how it's supposed to be. And so everything's kind of off, but it's right because it's
Hmm.
consistently that way, and that's their vision. And
Yeah.
it's an interesting question, but so what I asked Steven when he brought this newish style to me is I was like, this is really nice. It's a departure, but I guess I would just look at what your goals are with the game, what you wanted it to be ultimately, and does this fit that better?
Hmm.
I mean, because neither one is wrong
Yeah.
necessarily. Um,
And
because the rough style can still work. Like I was just
sure.
looking at it, and it's not bad. It just depends. But
Do you
yeah.
okay? So do you think the new direction is going to be a stronger direction for the game as a whole?
I certainly think it has potential to,
Okay.
especially once we start building it out, once we start tying it in with like a logo.
Yeah, for sure.
Uh,
And the new style too, I
and-
think is closer to my original vision of what I wanted.
yeah,
And I think I didn't know how to get there when I first started kind of doing the illustration style. So like when I was first messing around, I was drawing some items from Legend of Zelda, and I tried a variety of different things. They were all pretty rough in nature, like was kind of what I was going with. Some I was going like more angular approaches, like not using curves and stuff. And so that I kind of like landed on this style after trying like I think I drew like six different items for from Ocarina of Time, and
yeah,
I was like, oh,
I saw
like this is
those.
a cool, yeah. I was like, oh, this is a cool style. Like it's pretty cool, and like I still like it. It's still kind of like a rough, gritty style. But then also, I guess that was the other thing too. The more I thought about it, this game, the theme is that you're crafting these new items, and you're not gonna have an item come out of the forge looking banged up and like rough in that regard. That being said, too,
Mm,
like the stuff I have now, like it's made of scrap and like so some of the is that like is open to interpretation, and the items that I'm drawing, I'm still like putting notches in the weapons and different things. So it's kind of like this is a version of what the item is sometime after it's crafted. Um,
well, maybe, but part of the game is also getting better as a crafter
mm,
over time, as a person using the forge over time. So
right.
some of the earlier weapons, maybe you made a mistake while
Mm,
crafting it,
sure.
or nicked it on something while,
Yeah,
it's just not a perfect cast or whatever, but
that's true. So we can have the items look more
more,
polished for
yeah, more sheen, less flaws,
yeah,
just kind of more glam and glitz
yeah,
as they get better.
more super dope, man.
Yeah,
Um,
that's right.
anyway, so I'm excited about the new style. Kind of on that note, I was wondering too, like, have you had to change directions, like working on a project or working on some kind of illustration or something? Like, have you done this where you've? I guess I'm not like super far into illustrations, but I've done like I said, almost like 10 items. Have you like gotten into a project like a decent chunk and then like completely changed directions on style like that before?
Yes. Yes, both professionally and personally, I've done that.
Hmm.
Some projects just you will bang your head against a wall hoping for a breakthrough. But it just takes quite a while. And
Sure.
then and you'll spend time agonizing over this one idea that you'll have. Um, I think you experienced this recently, but you'll like go crazy tweaking and refining and like
Oh yeah,
messing with this
yeah,
one thing, and then you'll just take a second finally away from that idea, do something completely fresh, and boom, that's the one.
yeah.
That's like there you go. And you've wasted all this time over here,
Sure.
quote unquote. Um, but
It's the journey. It's about the journey,
But
man.
then it is
Yeah.
important. Getting it wrong, you need to, I mean, an important thing is learning to appreciate the different steps and not getting too frustrated,
Hmm.
but also knowing when to step away from an idea and maybe trying something else or not getting too married too early on. Um, but no, for sure, I have definitely
Okay.
taken I've almost like I've almost, in terms of branding projects, I've like finished a brand almost.
Yeah.
I've had fonts worked out, I've had color scheme worked
Hmm.
out, everything, and almost had it laid out to
Oh,
present.
jeez. And
And
then you
I've
just started over.
still, just because this one random idea would pop into my head, I try it out, and then it looks so much better.
Oh man.
And then I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm gonna have to change everything. This is too good. I have to
Yeah.
change it now.
That's
So
how I felt with this style, man. Like as I was just messing with this the other night and just like drawing it, I was just like I'm like I think I'm gonna have to redo every item. Like at first I like did outlines like still with all the rough features of everything. Then I was just
yeah.
like I just need to start over and like because I got that new idea, started working with this new thing. I'm like this just feels like what I wanted it to be. And then, like you were mentioning, I did that with the new branding for Waffle Games, where I just like kept reiterating on this
Mm,
same shape and old style of the waffle for for our
yeah.
logo, and then uh, just like I had an idea, did it. I'm like, this is it. Here it is. And so, yeah, still haven't revealed that. You guys will see it someday. It's pretty cool. I don't know when that's gonna happen. I'm working on a game. I don't have time to make new branding and website stuff.
Yeah.
I will at some point. But
As long as
um
it's launched by the time the game is coming out, I think
yeah.
it'll be fine. So we
uh
can put it on the box and
that's
everything.
right. Maybe that'll be the launch of the logo.
On the box. You
Yeah.
have to buy the game to see it.
That's the first time we're
Because
releasing the
they can't just
branding.
look it up. Yeah.
Yeah. On that note too, with changing directions, like when do you decide that that an illustration or like a project is done? Like when do you like how do you know when it's
Oh man.
finished? Like do you just have to be like I'm out of time, this is what it's going to be, or like cuz like you can refine stuff
Um,
forever.
that is a very good question. And
Thanks. I thought of it myself.
yeah, that's a really good question. And you a lot of people will run into this, but I think who um okay, so I think really art, because if you're talking, it depends on what you're talking about. So I would
Sure.
break it off into two camps. I think that art and design are different answers here.
Hmm.
So with design, you know, there's very commonly, not always, but there's usually a clear intention, you know. And once you've conveyed that message um through the design work that you're doing, you can pretty much call it a wrap. And you don't
Hmm.
have to spend too much more time on it
Yeah.
because basically um that's what good design does. It hopefully acts as like a pretty vehicle for your
Sure.
message to be brought to people.
Yeah.
So as long as you do that, you can call it done. And you could spend time agonizing over it, but I think that with design, as long as you're sending the message properly, then you can that's when you call it done, and it's just
Hmm.
how anal you are after that point
Sure.
to how much more time you want to spend on it.
So
Um,
what about in like art? That's kind of is it just more
so
subjective?
art is way harder. Art is a
Hmm.
much more difficult one. So like because the intention is much more like nuanced.
Okay.
Sometimes there's no real intention, or it's left intentionally interpretive or vague,
Hmm.
or because the value of artwork is more intrinsic instead of like
Sure.
serving a function or a purpose,
Yeah.
you know? So for knowing when art is finished, I think you have to know yourself,
You have to
which
know when
sounds
you're finished.
it sounds so stupid, but it's
Yeah.
actually true because like the important thing is to not keep like picking at your artwork
Hmm.
because of like a comparison that you're making to something else.
Sure.
So like you need to know. your own goals with the art and accurately and honestly try to evaluate whether or not you've reached them. And it's really hard to do, but
Yeah,
it gets easier with every piece you finish.
sure.
So a good general rule would just be to like finish more art. And you may not be happy with everything you do, but
Yeah.
with each new project you finish, you'll start being happier with that more often.
Hmm.
You'll
Yeah.
eventually start producing artwork that you're actually like, oh, I'm satisfied with that. I think
Yeah.
that's pretty well.
It's like hitting those like milestones. Like you complete something, then it's like, okay, I can do this. I can finish something, and then it's like keeps you motivated to work on other things. And like getting something finished is a big motivator to do more stuff. Like if you just start a bunch of things but never actually finish, like you might improve slowly, but in a sense, like it's not going to be as like fulfilling because you're not
Yeah.
completing those things. Hmm.
Yep. Yeah, it's so I know that's like a complicated, but I would just separate it out into two camps because design is more straightforward. There's usually like someone's asking you to do something, they're like, I need to get this out. And so you just make it look pretty, and as long as you convey that message in a concise way and make it look good,
Sure.
I mean, then you can step away at that point.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah.
Okay.
There's also something I wanted to
Yeah.
mention when you ask me stuff like this because I've listened back to some of the podcasts I've been on and I'm like, I'm answering some of these questions as though that's definitive. It's not. It's just
Our,
my take
our
on it,
resident expert here.
Yeah, it's not. There's a lot of people who would probably disagree with that answer, but that's the way that I kind of approach it. Especially design work.
Hmm.
Because the that's why, with when Stephen asks me these questions, I'm like, okay, what's the point though? What's the message? What's our
Yeah.
audience?
Right.
Um, stuff like that. Because if you can iron those things out, the piece will come together in some way.
Yeah.
So
Hmm. That's cool. Yeah. Have you like so early on in that process? You obviously have been doing this for how long have you? When did you start illustrating? Was it like 16 years ago,
illustrating,
or just like when there's a moment when you like started doing like YouTube tutorials for like digital
yeah.
painting and things like that. That was, I think, was that like the defining moment when you were like, I'm gonna start doing this, like drawing and painting and stuff like that.
Yes, it happened. Um, I think I told the longer version of the story, but already on this
Oh yeah,
podcast on
probably a
like the
while
first
ago.
one I was, but
Episode
I
18.
was
Go check it out.
yeah, episode 18, that's right. I was 14. I'm pretty sure that I was 14,
Dang.
and I saw that video on YouTube where someone was doing it digitally, and that was really
Hmm.
the clicking point for me. I thought that was so cool that you could do that, and that kind of
Yeah.
snowballed into me learning about like tablets. I bought
Hmm.
one. I saved up and bought one for myself, and then I started following tutorials and really teaching myself, which that interestingly, I started out wanting to be like some kind of artist illustrator.
Yeah.
But what ended up happening through my time in college was I started learning more about design, which was also
Hmm.
fascinating.
Yeah.
And because they're just I still um am trying to find like ways to bring the two ideas
Hmm.
together, like
Yeah.
art and design.
Board games is it, man.
That is that
You're
is a good
here.
way.
You made it.
Yeah,
Welcome.
it actually is a really good way
Yeah.
because there's so many. There's the art side, and then there's making it all work together, and then there's game design, which
Yeah.
is a whole other side of design, and then like UI, making sure things make sense to the average
Yeah.
user. All sorts of that stuff is like a design language, and married with really cool art, which is the thing that draws most people in. So, um, yeah. It's interesting.
Yeah. So from when you started, did you ever feel uh so okay, this is something I've been struggling with some of this now is like is imposter syndrome. And some of the stuff with my
Oh
art
yeah.
and with like my illustrations, I'll get feedback from like friends and family like, "Oh, like this is awesome." And like I'm like, "But is it?" And so some of that I'm like they're just being nice and like because it's it's like a scale. It's awesome relative to maybe like what they could do because they're not
Hmm.
artists or they don't pursue that kind of thing.
See.
So they're like, this is great. Like again, it's relative. And so I'm
Yeah.
in my head I'm like yeah, like it's pretty good, but then like I look at it more like I start over analyzing it and I'm just like this is hot garbage. And so then I start over and
I
like
see.
I've had this experience with different creative fields I've worked in and different things too, where I'm like, it's hard to get over that. Where you're like, I feel like
Hmm.
I'm not good enough to do this. I feel like I can't do it, or it just like that. I don't know that I should be better in some regard, and
Hmm.
it's like a mental thing to get over. Like, so how have you dealt with that before?
Uh, well, I'll throw up another asterisk on this that this is my opinion,
Sure.
my because but uh, imposter syndrome. It makes perfect sense that you're experiencing it. It's super common, especially in creative
Mm,
fields. In any kind of field where it's a creative sort of work, you're gonna feel this at some point to some level. Um, I think I think it comes down to a couple things,
mm,
and a lot of it has to do with your frame of mind, like how you're looking at the situation.
sure.
Um, all that imposter syndrome really indicates is that you've like achieved something or reached a position
Mm,
you either don't want to lose or you don't feel worthy of. So sometimes both. Um, this is why people feel it so often. Because people achieve way more than they think they can or think they're capable of all the time. So of course they're going to end up in this situation where they're like, "Oh, what am I doing here? How did I get here?"
sure.
You
Yeah.
know, you work hard at doing something. You never really think about what am I going to do once I get there? How is that going to feel?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like what do you do about that? I mean, well, the for me, I think the main thing is to remember the achievement factor, right? So
Mm,
you earned the thing. You got to this place in your life. You didn't get there for no reason. You had a drive.
yeah.
Someone saw something in you. You worked hard, and now you're here. And I would say key is remembering these things
Mm.
and remember that everyone is really just worried about their own stuff. I mean, like
Yeah.
people people
You're
aren't
your biggest critic,
yeah,
all the
like
time.
people aren't nearly as concerned with you as they are with themselves. So if you're doing your
That's
job
true.
as competently as possible, like 95% of the
Yeah.
time, you're gonna fly under the radar. They'll just be worrying about your job, about their job, and everyone will be good as long as you're just like trying to work hard.
Hmm.
So like work through the imposter feelings. Keep working through them and don't let it bring you to like some kind of halt. Um, because that's the tricky thing. Is like you can start to get all in your own head and and pause your work and like second guess yourself, or you just like keep working, do what you know, because you got there.
Yeah.
So you can do it.
Yeah, you got there somehow. Like it's not because you didn't get the position by not being good. Like
Yeah, you didn't trick people
right.
into like presumably. I mean, there's
Hopefully you
always
didn't do that,
exceptions, right? Like
Yeah.
if you got your job because your dad got it for you,
Or
don't
you just
worry,
like
I'm sure he'll get you another one.
your portfolio, you just like found someone with the same name and just like this is my
Yeah.
work.
Well, but the thing is, like, if you got your position through some kind of weird scummy way or like some kind of,
It's gonna come out. Yeah.
it's going to come out and you deserve it. So like,
Right.
and you won't be feeling imposter syndrome. You'll
You'll just be like,
know,
yeah, yeah,
you'll be looking
yeah.
for the next scam that you're trying to pull off in some way.
And
But
that's all
I
we
don't
are
know.
here at Waffle Games, bunch of scammers.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
um, yeah. Well, that's good. I think that's good. I mean, I've felt it before, and like, when I was getting into UX and like my first like freelance project, I'm like, oh gosh, like, do I actually know how to do this? And then like landing this other jobs, things like that. So it's stuff I've pushed through, and then like some of it too is like getting positive affirmation afterwards. It's very validating, and I feel like I've been lucky to have good people that I've worked with that like will recognize and like and tell you like, hey, like that's great, like you're doing great, or like, hey, this is something you should work on. And it's very like grounding and validating to when you're like in it. And I feel like it's especially scarier at the front end of things, but as you get more experience or
Yes.
start doing it more, it's like, oh, okay, like I can do this. So
Oh yeah, dude. I say all that stuff like I'm like I oh, I'm a master at dealing with this. Oh man. When I first got into the industry, I mean, I was panicky. You could ask my wife. I mean, it consumed my life, and I was so worried all the time to the point where I even had a conversation with one of my coworkers at the time. I was like, dude, I don't know how to do this. The pressure is insane.
hmm.
I can't deliver what they're at. I feel like I'm behind always. I feel like I can't get these projects done. I'm just screwed, dude. I
Yeah.
don't know. And I'm not like, and then like I'll send something and then it gets all these critiques and I just, oh my gosh, I'm just
Yeah.
in my head. And he said something to me though that I've always held on to. Um, it was so simple. He just looked at me. He was like, Ralph, we're not saving the world, dude. You're just making ads. I was like, okay, that's
uh,
fair. I guess
yeah,
it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, it's
that's
just a
true.
freaking advertisement.
It
Who
takes off some
cares?
of the pressure of that. It's not like this
Yeah.
is life or death for anyone.
Yeah,
So
you just got to remember.
that's good. Yeah.
It's just clients. It's just like someone it's just someone who needs something and
Right.
you're there to do it.
Yeah.
And hey, whatever. Don't let yourself be abused emotionally or mentally over this. Don't do that to yourself, right?
Right.
Just realize that hey, if they're going to be unrealistic about this thing,
Yeah.
I don't care. I'm just going to do my best and there it is.
Yeah. No, that's really good. Well, thanks for diving into that. Thanks for
Oh, thank.
casting that story to the pod. You
Oh,
know,
no problem.
yeah. I always try to incorporate that somewhere about casting something to the pod.
Oh, yeah.
But we are. I think we're out of time. So that's gonna
We're out of time.
that's
Oh,
gonna.
wow, that was fast.
It always goes by fast, man. And our episodes always go long, so I have to cut it short.
That's
Um,
true. That's true.
Not that like again we don't have a firm like cap on time. We've had over hour long episodes before. Anyway, that's all we're gonna talk about today. But everyone, give a round of applause to Ralph for joining the team. Say whoa, whoa.
I do need one question
Oh
answered. How
no,
how do I
no.
how do I sound? Okay. How do I sound?
Great, fine.
Dude, well, look, I bought this thing
Yeah.
because of me listening back to the
Oh
previous
yeah.
podcast and how terrible my audio quality sounded on
Yeah.
those. I need that to be fixed. And
It is better. I think you're a
it's
little bit. I
better.
think you're too far from the mic.
How
Like
close do I need to be?
you want to be like a few inches. I mean, I'm like 4 inches from my mic, but it's
Okay,
like
so I
also
probably just need to reposition it a
yeah.
little
I
bit.
think play around with some stuff. Again, it's fine. I'm just there's a little bit of room noise in there, but it's all good. Um,
Oh yeah, and that's another thing. If we're gonna record these like this nothing's gonna kick me in the butt harder to get this room actually
I
finished.
know. It's
So
like, hey, let me just tell you we're gonna use video, even though you haven't prepped your space in any way. And then I've got like my shelves and
yeah, of course.
my backlighting and my red panda print over there.
Yeah.
Black that reflection somewhere.
Yeah, if anyone was wondering why the video recording happened, that's why. This room looks
I just wanted to embarrass Ralph. So, anyway, that is all the time we have for today. Thanks again for listening and potentially watching this first video one. It'll be on the YouTubes, which we have a YouTube channel for Waffle Games.
I was just gonna ask. I don't
I
even
think I have like one subscriber because I posted like the first 7 episodes of the podcast, but I posted it with like the only visuals was like a waveform visualizer, so it like goes up and down as we speak.
Oh, okay.
And I only got through like episode 8 of putting those up. So
Oh no.
now it'll all of a sudden just be like episode 54. So
Whoops.
anyway, that was fun. But okay, let me finish my spiel. Thanks again for listening. We're Bit Waffle Games, and if you want to hear more about what we're doing and keep up to date, keep listening to this podcast or watching this would you still call it just a video podcast? Video video podcast?
I think it's still called a podcast, even if there's a video, even if it's recorded on video.
Keep listening to this podcast and or watching the video version of this podcast that you will be able to find on YouTube. And also follow us on the socials at Waffle Games, and you'll see some art that we're posting, which is now outdated and will be updated at some point. You'll see new versions of the art, as well as potentially some clips from funny moments of podcasts in the future. So we'll see. Also find a link to our Discord at bitwafflegames.com, which someday will be updated with new branding as well. But it hasn't yet. So there's a lot of caveats to this podcast ending today. Anyway,
hang in there.
That's all the time. We're done. We're out. Thanks again. We'll see you next time.
All right. Bye.